BookTok over the years has grown so much so that it's managed to seep off of the page and onto the screen, with it not always going so well. Due to BookTok, book sales have skyrocketed, making reading more popular again. But with the system built on virality and authors striving for a viral book, plots are becoming weaker, characters less complex, and stories less compelling and more repetitive. But not only books are being churned out left, right, and centre, but also adaptations. So much so that some authors have several screen adaptations in the works before the book has even been released. BookTok, for those who either don't have TikTok or aren't chronically online, is a community on TikTok where people can go to promote, share, and discuss the books they read. However, over the years, this side of TikTok has been heavily criticised for many things, like over-consumerism, glorifying toxic and problematic relationships. But the community has already taken over the literary industry, increasing the sales of books, making books more popular, and it is now doing the same with TV and film. We've recently seen novels like The Love Hypnothesis by Ali Hazelwood, which was initially fanfiction for the Star Wars characters Rey and Kylo Ren, which is now being adapted into a movie by Amazon MGM Studios, starring Lily Reinhart and Tom Bateman. There's been so much promo for this movie, and it doesn't even have a release date yet, yet I feel like I've been seeing the promotion for months. The BookTok movement, if you will, has had huge effects on book sales. At a book festival held in Waterstones in Piccadilly, one of the sales assistants told The Observer, "I can't stress how much BookTok sells books. It's driven huge sales of young adult and romantic books. The demographic is almost exclusively teen girls, but the power it has is huge. We have a BookTok recommendations table, and you can tell which books is trending by the speed at which they sell." Caroline Hardman says, "It's driving the appetite for romance and romantasy in a really big way. So it's having a strong effect on what the publishers look for." Publishers Association Research released a report that said, BookTok and book influencers significantly influence what choices this audience make about what they read, with 55% of respondents saying that they turn to the platform for book recommendations. Getting your book to go viral on BookTok is, if not the best way to get a publishing deal and increase sales that would completely change your life overnight. Over time, this has kind of led to what I like to call the death of the plot and the rise of trend-based writing. Many people have started to realise that books that go viral on BookTok often follow many of the same tropes, plotlines, and types of characters, with a massive influx of the spicy romance and romantasy.
Y'all be thinking I'm making this crap up. You're so beautiful. When did you notice, I ask? You don't want to know. Yes, I do. A year ago. I gasp. What? On your 17th birthday. He's a police officer, by the way, who saved her from a crack house when she was 7.
Lately, a majority of books that have been trending on BookTok seem to be copies of the same generic stories with predictable plotlines, simpler language, and every page often being full of emotions and cliffhangers to appeal to our shorter attention spans, mainly being directed towards a Gen Z type audience, often coming across as lazy and uninspired writing, with the main aim to go viral.
BookTok has helped publishing in a huge way, but lately, it feels like all the books are the same. We begged for more fantasy, and publishing heard us, but instead of giving us variety, they give us clones.
Focusing primarily on what is trending and popular than actually writing something inspired and original. Now with that said, there's absolutely nothing wrong if you enjoy these types of stories and feed into this never-ending cycle of trends. I like a good spicy story here and there. When I get in bed, I want to read a nice little book sometimes. And if that entails some spice, some heat, there is no harm in doing that. On a side note, I hope you guys are doing well. It's getting to that time of year when it's a little more cold and gloomy outside, and what helps me feel my best is having a good skincare routine. That is why I am excited to partner with Henson Shaving. As someone with sensitive skin, I've always been very intentional with my skincare routine, but shaving only left me with flare-ups and irritation. Thankfully, my Henson razor was the final solution to complete my skincare experience. Now if you want a razor for life, Henson Shaving has spent years perfecting the perfect razor. I mean, look at how cute this is. And plus, there are so many colours to pick from, which for me was actually the hardest part, was just choosing one. Also, like I mentioned earlier, there's absolutely no plastic. Henson razors are made from aluminium and made to last, with blades that are also recyclable, which is great because, believe it or not, 2 million plastic razors end up in landfill each year in the US alone. Plus, their packaging is also all eco-friendly. You can now get 2 years worth of of blades. With any purchase of a Henson razor, all you have to do is make sure that both items are in your basket when you check out and click the link in my description. Thank you, Henson Shaving, and let's get back to the video. But with the lack of strong plot and getting deja vu with every book and character, you can't help but wonder why. The formula has become so easy to guess. A romantic book will often have the two starting out despising each other, then they catch feelings, throw in a little line like, "I'm no good for you should stay away from me." They'll argue, they'll get back together, and then it kind of happens over and over and over again. And the more and more stories you read like this, the more boring and repetitive it gets. Mixed with the dumbing down of books, simpler and shorter plot lines. We also have heard of some authors using AI to help with the writing process and writer's block, with all these factors in mind leading to a virality machine, which many aspiring authors get stuck in. Books haven't just got more predictable and repetitive in the BookTok space, but also just more books. We are starting to see authors just pumping out books left, right and centre, with some people even comparing it to fast fashion, as with these authors releasing more and more books, either the quality or story goes downhill, or they are ultimately just releasing the same book over and over again, just with different characters and a different setting. What does all this lead to? A lot of money. And who likes money? Hollywood. More specifically, studios. So when they started hearing about how popular these stories were becoming, it wouldn't take long before deals were made and contracts were signed. But as we will learn, if the story doesn't start off with a good foundation, cracks may begin to show. With so many fans of the books already, these studios will run, they will rush, they will full go and try and get the rights to these books to be able to adapt the story. Because choosing to adapt these stories over some script sent by little Jimmy over here is more of a safer bet, and often will lead to a profit for the studio. Like in Alex Astor's case, who caused a lot of drama after the rights to her novel, Light Luck, got bought by Universal. Alex Astor went viral in 2022 with a pitch for her young adult novel called Light Luck. Viral TikTok ended up landing Alex a 6-figure publishing deal with Amulet Books just a week after this TikTok was posted. But soon Alex started to open up more about her life and her ups and downs with losing several agents before eventually landing her deal. The book was set to release August 2022, but a few months earlier in July, Alex revealed that the book actually managed to get a movie deal, and that was with Universal Studios. And this was all before the book even came out. According to some outlets, Alex actually was reported saying that the movie deal was more zeros than I've ever seen in my life. But the BookTok community started having questions and began to speculate the credibility behind Alex's rags to riches story.
Misleading marketing, specifically when it comes to like the narratives that she has been spinning about how she got to her success, because I think it is misleading to kind of chalk it all up to determination and, repetition. I kept trying, hard work, which, not to negate those things, I'm sure that was all like present, but you have to acknowledge for support systems and education and the open doors that money kind of exposes you to.
Questions started circulating regarding whether or not she was dramatizing her supposed struggles whilst downplaying her privilege. Users also found out that her whole family is just very rich, with her twin sister apparently being one of the richest women in the US. And things got even worse for Alex. Users started attacking her for falsely advertising herself and her privilege, calling her an industry plant. On the day that Light Luck was officially released on August 23rd, several angered followers started leaving negative reviews about the book, bombing the ratings, leaving it with a 2.5 stars on Goodreads. Users also noted that several of these tropes and scenes that Alex was advertising weren't actually in the book, saying things like the entire plot that Alex was promoting on TikTok was false, as that she said it would be a mix of The Hunger Games and a core of Thorns and Roses, but many struggled to see the similarities. She's also been criticised for writing the same story over and over again, and how she has managed to pump out books constantly throughout the last 3 years. Despite the criticism, Universal still went ahead with making the movie, which should be releasing in the next year or so. And it's not the only book that Alex Astor has actually been able to get a movie adapted from, with her book Summer in the City also landing a movie deal. Now, in all honesty, congratulations to Alex. We also can't forget about the multiple deals that Colleen Hoover has had. Colleen, who blew up back in 2022 on BookTok, with several books skyrocketing up the charts. And so far, Colleen has had 2 movie adaptations that have come out, with one of them the most notorious ones being It Ends With Us, starring Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, which ended up in them both suing each other and turning into a massive legal battle that no one could have expected. We also saw the effects of when the studio and marketing team don't really understand the meaning of the story and how to properly market it, as the film and story involved many serious topics, as you can see on the screen. Promo for the movie rarely spoke about these topics, and the movie and book itself had no trigger warnings. Colleen currently has 2 other movies in production and one that just came out. Reminders of him being produced by Universal, which, when writing this, the trailer only released 21 hours ago and already has 8.9 million views. The other adaptation being Verity, with Amazon MGM Studios taking on the rights. The film was originally set to release 15th of May 2026, but now has been pushed back to October 2nd, 2026. Featuring Anne Hathaway, Dakota Johnson and Josh Hartnett. Why is that so hard for me to say? To all star in the adaptation. And the last one being Regretting You, produced by Paramount Pictures, which is currently in cinemas, and hasn't had the best reviews from critics and viewers alike.
Guys, Colleen Hoover needs to be put in jail. No, she needs to be arrested. Regretting You was not good at all. Like, at least it with us had a plot. This shit had no plot. Like,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
it's okay. But the movie was not okay.
We also have Anna, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce your last surname very well,
Anna Huang.
the writer of the romance book series Twisted Love, who recently got a 7-figure option deal from Netflix to make it into a new show. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these popular book talks to movie or TV shows have been highly successful. When looking at things like The Summer I Turned Pretty or Normal People, with the right script writers and good plot lines, it can turn out into a pretty good show. But that is not always the case. Some haven't been met with best reviews, and also the realization that what you read on paper might not always translate best to the screen. From just general viewers, but also people who love the books, there has been many cases of people not liking the adaptations, either because it's not the way they envisioned it, but also because we start to see how lacking the plot actually is. In many cases, when these studios get the rights from the author, they are able to adapt the story however they want, unless there's like a clause in the contract where the author actually has a say or that they can't change some of the story. Now, this has been happening for years, and there's many reasons for this. Obviously, film and television is a completely different medium than writing and reading. A picture or show or movie would need to represent the story in a visual way, including dialogue, set design, and cinematography. Also, novels can be very long and need to be simplified for the audience, so they may end up missing out a lot of important details in order to be able to cut it down to 1 to 2 hours. And most of the time, these studios are buying the rights solely for the name, and because they know that there's an audience for it. That is why normally there's an influx of people complaining about the movie or show and how it's nothing like the book. I think one of the reasons that book to series works so well is there's more room to fully explore the story. But going back to my point about the plot and how you can almost tell if a movie adaptation is going to work purely on how strong the writing of the book is. I read the After series before it got adapted into movies, and by the time I got to the 3rd book, I was already bored. I felt like I was reading the same story over and over again. So when I heard that there was going to be a movie adaptation based on the books, I kind of knew that it would get very repetitive, in which it did. That is why the whole spicy romance genre has completely kicked off in the movie industry, as there are more books becoming viral with a higher demand, so are filtering onto the silver screen. Meaning we're not just getting repetitive books, but we're also getting repetitive movies. There's definitely a similar way in which these movies also feel and look. Everything kind of feels a bit rushed, the CGI isn't always great, cinematography just kind of feels like what you'd see in a Hallmark movie, with like flat colours, not very experimental. This feels very negative and movie review-like. I'm sorry if it comes across like that, but I'm trying to explain what I mean. Nothing really feels that creative in the process of making the movie, either with the way it's shot, the set design. Most of the time it just doesn't feel like there's much thought gone into the actual look of the movie. And from a project that was born from a book, which holds literally everything they need, the story can just be very simple. The dialogue is often stripped from any personality or interesting detail, which is sad when you know some of these authors have spent so much time creating these characters. But on more of a positive note, some of these adaptations do really well, and they completely immerse themselves into the creation, leading to a very full show, or movie. But most books to movie adaptations are done over several years. Writing, trying to get picked up by a studio, then the casting, set design, location scouting, sound design, editing, not necessarily all in that order, but ultimately what I'm trying to say is it takes years for a movie to get born from a book, or just in general. Like making a movie just takes a long time. But a lot of these that we've talked about are being created in a much shorter time, and the end result can often reflect that. Like a lot of people have said, there is almost a fast fashion style in which books are being created, and as more and more time goes by, we are beginning to see this happen with screen adaptations. And I'm not just talking about book to movies or book to shows, I'm just talking about shows and movies in general, especially with several authors having multiple movie deals going on at once. So now that I've spoken a lot about the actual topic at hand, let's take a very small dive into the adaptations themselves and how this is affecting cinema as a whole. Uglies is a movie based on the novel by Scott Westerfield, with a Netflix adaptation announced in 2020 and released September 13th, 2024. Directed by MCG, who also directed the 2000s Charlie's Angels, one of the Terminators, This Means War, The Duff, Holiday, Tall Girl 2. The plot of the movie, where at 16, the people of the futuristic city with enforced beauty standards undergo cosmetic surgery that alters their physical features to their liking. For that, they are isolated in prison-like dorms where they receive minimal education and are instead taught that they are uglies until they come of age and are transformed into pretties. Now, I haven't read the books that the movie is based on, but I have heard that they are pretty good. But after reading the plot or the summary of the movie, you can kind of tell why this didn't necessarily work. The movie got heavily criticised and made fun of online. The Wattpad fanfic style movie has also begun to get a lot more popular. Over time, movies like After, Beautiful Disaster, The Idea of You, Through My Window, Your Fault, which all of these are like toxic situationship type storylines that tend to have like a decent first film, or the best one is normally like the first one, and then is followed by ones that feel very repetitive. Just want to mention again, no hate to this style of movie or shows or authors in general. I'm not hating on anyone in this video, even though it may sound like it, which I don't mean it to. We do have other adaptations, like I said earlier, that have worked and have been heavily praised. There's also been books that have got popular on BookTok that already have movie adaptations. I expect over the next few years we will begin to see more stories that are trending on TikTok to reflect and mirror on the screen. In addition to this, we may also notice that quantity is going to be more important than quality, with Netflix paying for popular BookTok books over pitches from filmmakers and scriptwriters, which could lead to potentially less creative projects. So what is the overall summary? Well, I don't think this type of viral book to movie is going to stop anytime soon. Like, books to movies has never changed. Like, that's always happened. I think it's changing in the books that are being adapted into movies, if that makes sense. I just wanted to make this video purely because of the amount of BookTok book to movie adaptations I've seen recently. You know, whether we like to admit it or not, these types of stories are heavily based on what we as viewers engage in. If you buy a lot of these types of books, they're just going to keep on getting made and replaced. The same thing's going to happen with movies, because a lot of these movies and shows based on these books are very, very popular. A lot of people watch them even if they're not good because they've read the books and they want to see what adaptation's like. I think until we start to collectively look for more unique types of books, plots will continue to be repetitive and similar stories will continue being told. The question in the comments today is, what is the best book to movie adaptation? Leave your answer in the comment and I will read them all. I also want to say thank you so much for all the support on my channel recently. I'm going to try and start using my community posts a lot more. I'll try and post a poll every week. Also, if you want to see more of me, if you want a parasocial relationship with me, then you can check out my Instagram. I tend to be more active on there. Really appreciate you guys so much, and I look forward to reading your thoughts on this topic. Remember to click the link in my description to get yourself a lovely little Henson shaver. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!